Hello everyone! In this video I will go over the main sections and chapters of the new upcoming series. This series I have been planning for over a year. Now I talked before about the stages of skills you have or you pass through as you practice art throughout your life. From the first time you decide to draw all the way to the mastery level. You will pass through a couple of levels and breakthroughs that will change the way you draw forever. This is how I describe it. The first level, the two-dimensional art, which include tracing and copying. This is the first level where you start to see things differently. Your vision starts to upgrade from drawing things the way you think they look to the way they actually are. The second level, or the three-dimensional art, where you start doing illustrations, painting, adding colors and values, accurately replicating the real world into the canvas. In this level your memory will get better, and you start applying what you learn into your art automatically without the need to go over the rules on paper. The third level is the fourth-dimensional art. This is where you start creating art from imagination. The fourth dimension here is your imagination, which will develop throughout this level of skill, all the way till you're able to create your own words and tell your own story in your own voice. Finally, after that, you will have the rest of your life to follow the path of the old art masters, until one day you become an art master yourself. And then you will be guiding the next generation throughout their own art journeys. So between these three stages of art skill, your work will develop and change a lot. And the rules you applied in one level will be broken in another level, or even changed completely. This new series I'm working on is a complete journey from the first time you touch a pencil all the way to creating your own words. But that's how far I can get you. As of the final stage, the road to mastery, I'm afraid that's unfortunately a very lonely road that you have to walk on by yourself. It's a road of trial and error, hard working nights and lucky accident, that where you will find your true artistic mastery at the end of it. So let's talk about the series and how it will be represented to you. This series will contain three huge parts. Let's call them books. The first book is the book of vision, starting your journey, seeing the real world as it is. The second book is the book of memory, sharpening your skills, memorizing the rules of reality. And finally, the third book is the book of imagination, unleashing your imagination and breaking the walls of reality. Now every book of these three will contain chapters, and each chapter will contain lessons, and every lesson may take a video or more depending on the poll I left in the last video, which is still going on, and you can go right now to the poll and voice your opinion. If you still want longer videos, please do. If you want shorter videos, we will do that as well. In total, the series may include anywhere between 150 to 200 or more videos by the end of it. So let's see what are we going to talk about. Now I'm not gonna go into the details of every small chapters and lessons inside each book, since I'm still tweaking the final arrangement of the lesson within the chapters, but I will give you the general idea of each book. Later on I will do an introduction video before the beginning of each book, explaining in details what I'm gonna cover in it. Just remember, before diving in the series, these books are just a record of my own journey and the way I learned art. It's not meant to be the final line of rules. It's just simple tips here and there I found throughout my travels in the art world and that I collected in these books. Think of me as a drunk storyteller in an abandoned bar that you met on your travels, and I'm just telling you all these stories about what I saw and what you might see yourself throughout your own experience. So take everything I say here with a grain of salt and modify what you hear to fit your own style and goals. So, what do I have in these books? Well, in the first book, we're gonna start from the absolute beginning. I will walk you through as if you never ever touch a pencil in your life. And this is the first time you decided to draw. No experience required for this book whatsoever. It's for the absolute beginner out there who is interested in starting his own journey into the art world. So, in chapter 1, I'm gonna start talking about art. Understanding what art is, the truth about being an artist, the misconception of gift versus talent, seeing versus sight, and many more subjects that will help you take your first step into the art world and prove to you that anyone can be an artist. In chapter 2, I'm gonna walk you through your first step in drawing, and we will do a few exercises that will show you the difference between what you see and what you think you see. There are gonna be some basic rules to help guide your drawing hand and enhance your eye-hand coordination. We're gonna talk about some materials you need, sketchbooks, and so on. In chapter 3, we're gonna start exploring the basics of art. The basic proportion, the basic portraits, the basic edges, forms, perspective, still life, figure drawing, other medias and beginner mistakes, and much more. Every lesson will come with its own homework, so you can follow along and practice as we progress. At the end of the first book, all I'm hoping is for you to develop your skills from being an absolute beginner to a stage where you can draw from a photo or live a correct representation of what you're seeing in front of you in 2D. No values, no light, no shadow, no colors. None of those will be introduced in the first book. All our focus will be on training you to see the world as it is, not as you think it is. And to make a good drawing without confusing you with values and colors and whatnot. Now in the second book, we're gonna use all the basics we learned in book 1 and build up on it, all the way to an advanced level and finally draw in 3D space. Now we learned how to draw in 2D in the first book. In this book, we're gonna give it values and light and colors, turning it into the third dimension. We're gonna be sharpening your skills and enhancing your ability to go from a beginner artist to a professional painter. A painter that is capable of painting correct and accurate representation of the real world in full details, light, values, and color. Now in chapter 1, we're gonna dive deep into the light and values, understanding how light works, materials, and different surfaces. We're gonna also cover blending techniques, going from line art to grayscale. We're gonna do value painting, line weight, and so on. In chapter 2, we will finally talk about colors. We will add life and emotion to your paintings. Study how to go from grayscale to colors, the color theory, how to light and dark paintings without using black and white, using different color combination, and much more. In chapter 3, we will talk about the anatomy and figure drawing. This is gonna be a long chapter. We will talk about the anatomy basics, the mechanism of human structure, and then how to get the exact likeness of a portrait, and lots of figure drawing. In chapter 4, we're gonna talk about perspective, basic rules, 1 point, 2 point, 3 point perspectives, foreshortening, extreme angles, drawing objects in perspective, and more. In chapter 5, we're gonna talk about composition, the basics and rule of compositions. And of course, we're gonna give examples on every aspect of it. In chapter 6, we're gonna talk about functionality, how things work, the reality of things in fashion, armor, fabric, weight, animals, landscape, materials, textures, skin, and themes, and so on. So you can understand how you design things, why you design things, and how different parts of your design work together. Finally, in chapter 7, we're gonna talk about application, applying what you learned so far in different projects. We're gonna cover the mistake you fall into as an artist, we're gonna do some exercises, and where to go from here to the next level. At the end of the second book, I'm hoping that you will be able to draw anything you want. Not only to draw it accurately with the correct light, values, colors, and narrative, you're gonna be a fully fledged painter. Notice that I didn't say artist yet. This, by the way, may be a controversial point of view, but there are some artists who differentiate between the painters and artists. They say painters are people who are able to draw anything they see. Artists, on the other hand, can draw anything they see and create anything they imagine. So by the end of the second book, you will hopefully be able to draw anything you see perfectly and correctly. And then you will be ready to break the walls of reality. And that will be in the last book. So finally, in the third book, we're gonna unleash the power of drawing from imagination, breaking the walls of reality. Now, breaking the walls of reality took me between 3 to 4 years to even understand why I can draw anything I want. Why I can draw at this quality when I copy, and then when I want to create from imagination, my quality drops down very fast. I had to change everything I used to do to this point to be able to break through the surrounding walls. These walls that surround you as an artist, I didn't even know they existed until I tried to create my first original painting. So in this final book, You're gonna use all the fundamental skills we studied in the past books and apply it in a way that will help enrich your visual library and creativity. It will also boost your imagination with so many ideas and so many ways you can extract from reality, photos, concept art, or your own imagination. In this book, there will be no copying at all. Everything we will draw will be different than the reference, in one way or another. This is gonna be the hardest and most advanced book of them all. So make sure if you're not ready or good enough with the fundamentals, please go back and finish book 1 and 2 before proceeding to the third one. And in this final book, we're gonna finally add the fourth dimension, the imagination part. And with this fourth dimension power, you will not only be able to see the wall separating you from your dream world, but you will be able to walk through it using the skills and exercises in this book. Now in the first chapter, I'm gonna start by telling you how I used to study and why it didn't work. Then we're gonna start understanding and dissecting what we study. No longer we will copy exact details, but we will separate the parts of what we study them based on the theme, the timeline, the species, or the other aspects of design. We will also be studying perspective, light, values, material, figure drawing, and understanding the function and mechanics behind design from real life or concept art. Basically, you will be studying with purpose and understanding. This will be the intro into chapter 2. Now chapter 2 will be the most challenging. In this chapter you will be creating new art, using existing designs. You will be mashing different designs together, morphing them and changing scales, colors, lighting, themes, mechanics, purpose, timeline and much more. So basically you're gonna use what we have to create what we don't. The final chapter, chapter 3 in this book, it will be the equivalent of a senior project. We will be designing our own project, complete worlds, games, or story narrative using reference material and imagination. I may also talk about tools like SketchUp, ZBrush, Blender, or more tools we need to make things easier. You're gonna also learn how to come out with ideas, how to come out with projects of your own if you are stuck or facing an artist block. Hopefully by the end of the third book, you will be able to create any design you want, any word you think of, and any story you want to illustrate. Of course, you have to keep in mind, I'm only giving you the ideas and tools you're gonna need to master your craft. But without your participation, your daily work, your practice, none of this will actually make an artist out of you. Watching tutorials alone will not make you an artist. Trust me, I tried. You need to practice it yourself. These tutorials may take you anywhere between 3 years to, 10 years to apply. And even then you will need to keep applying them over and over for the rest of your life. The art journey is not a short one. It starts from the day you decide to become an artist to the end of your life. Always learning, always developing, and always creating. So if you finish all 3 books, that's where I'm gonna leave you. It's gonna be the end of the line for me. That's the last place I can accompany you to. After this, I will have to leave you find your own road to mastery. It will be a long and lonely road that you have to take on your own. Just remember, on your journey to mastery, you will find other beginners on the way. Now it's your job as an artist to pick them up and walk them through the same journey we had together and become their guide on their own journey, just like I was to yours. But that's a long way from here, so we will cross that bridge when we get there. The last thing I want to talk about before ending this video is my uploading schedule for this series. It will be a bit different. First I thought I should upload the first book until I finish it, then start the second book until I finish that, then the third one. But the problem is not everyone here is on the same level. So I thought the better thing to do is to upload a video from each series every week, one by one. So for the next week or so, we start with the first book, the first video of the first book. The next week we start with the first video of the second book, and the third week we start with the first lesson of the third book. And then we go back to the first, and then the second, and then the third, and so on. I think this way everyone can start practicing at the same time. So you need to understand that not every week we're gonna have a new chapter in the series you are following. And just make sure if you are following the first book, don't go all the way to the third and start practicing that. It will just confuse you. Hopefully in a year or two we will have all the series complete and you can just follow it from start to finish. Now before I go, I need to remind you with the poll we did last week. So far the results are just weird. It's 50% versus 50%. There are like 30 votes so far from the time I'm making this video. So it's half and half. I still don't know if you want short videos or long videos. I still prefer the longer videos, by the way, but I'll still wait till the end of this week to see if I'm gonna do the long version or the short version. By the way, when I upload the videos, every book will have its own playlist, so you can follow each book on its own. So this is the introduction. As I said, it's gonna be a really big series, so it's probably gonna take a year or two to finish. This is it for now. In the next video, I will be diving in the first book of the series. I think I did enough introduction for the first two videos, so we will start with the first chapter of the first book of this series. So until then, thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video.